the Braveheart beginner. I know that sounds a bit cryptic, but all will become very, very clear. Let's speak about an organization who really have effective, positive change inside the sports industry with the partners that they've worked with. We're talking about Parley for the Oceans, and Cyrill Gutsch is their CEO and founder. He joins us live now via video link, and he's also joining us from far, far away. He's in the Maldives. So, Cyrill, thank you so much for sparing the time to speak to us. We know that you're involved in a beach cleanup operation there as part of your work with Parley. But let's go back to the beginning of the story, Cyrill. Parley started almost 10 years ago when you met Captain Paul Watson, founder of Sea Shepherd, a legendary ocean conservation organizational group. He inspired you to start Parley as a result, and Parley has turned into a collaboration space, a movement. But to really kind of give us a sense of how urgent, how stark the situation is with ocean health, can you maybe give us a few facts that really put this into context and why it's so important that you do the work that you do?
Thank you, and thanks a lot for being here, for having me and listening to what we're doing. First of all, we humans, we are depending more on the healthy sea than we might want to. Because most of the oxygen we take in is created by life out there, by animals in the deep. The oceans actually regulate our climate, our weather, and without a healthy sea, we humans will not live on this planet. So that's important to know, but the situation right now is really sincere. I mean, the oceans are dying in rapid speed, like pretty much most of the natural world on this planet, as an effect of what we humans have done over the last pretty much 50 years. We're putting out materials like plastic that are toxic, that are destructive. We're burning up fossil fuel and driving climate change. We are eating, like in a large scale, all that life that is out there with up to 10 million fishing vessels. The truth is, if we don't turn our behavior, our relationship to the oceans, to life in the oceans around, and also our relationship to materials in general that are often toxic, then we're going to lose the sea within the next decade. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, you put that so compellingly. I mean, you know, the danger isn't in the future, it's very, very present. It is now, and it's almost like we have almost run out of time, but we do believe that change is possible, and you believe that that change is possible through the power of sport, Cyrill. So tell us about Parley and perhaps what you're best known for, which is the partnership with Adidas, which has now been sort of 6 years. Tell us how that came about, and also why this partnership has blossomed in the way that it has.
Yeah, I mean, the partnership with Adidas started pretty much at the beginning of Parley. I reached out to them because I felt if we want to have success, then we have to work with the industry. We have to turn polluters, like the big bad guys, into eco-champions. And with that, we're going to establish a new standard, and all the other brands will follow. I saw that as the fastest possible way. And sports has the power to reach millions and billions of people, but also, and that's the most important, athletes relate to their bodies. And once they understand that their personal health, their performance depends on a healthy environment, they go all in. And last but not least, if an athlete uses a new material, alternative materials, a new technology, everybody follows, everybody believes and trusts. And trust is the biggest hurdle, the biggest, I would say, roadblock when changing existing standards like plastic and trying to drive industry into an alternative direction.
Let's talk some specifics here, Cyrill, because you mentioned athletes sort of wearing the apparel, the shoes, but in order to actually really make that have a tangible contribution and impact, you had to identify immediate fixes and invest in research and development to bring the concept shoe, particularly in upcycled plastic, into the global supply chain of Adidas at a level that would make a true impact. This isn't simple stuff. How difficult was that for you to achieve?
I mean, the negotiation of the Adidas contract back then took 2 years. And in that time, we had to prove that our initial idea And that idea was called ocean plastic. The idea was to take remote beaches, coastlines, go there, clean up, take that trash and transform it into premium materials that then would be used in athletic products, right? Gear for athletes. And this idea, I mean, it's a simple idea, but implementing it took a long time because we first had to optimize the recycling process because the stuff that we are taking from the beaches or from rivers or from the sea is often in a very poor health, right? And in order to kind of upcycle it and give it the attributes that you need to kind of put it into a performance product, you need to go into the lab. But once you have these like formulas and you have the processes defined, you have to also bring it into the supply chain. It's very easy to come up with an idea. It's even easier to come up with a prototype, but scaling it and bringing a new idea into the commoditization status, that's the big challenge. And we have done that with Adidas. They're selling millions and millions of shoes now every year with our materials. And that's the first big step. Now other industries are following. We are looking for this one champion in each industry category. And plastic as a virgin material, like new plastic, in my eyes, doesn't have a right to be anymore. But that's just half of the journey. The next half would be now to find alternatives to plastic. And that's the next 10 years I'm dedicating my life to.
Fantastic. Cyrill, Parley have made upcycled apparel for many amazing, strong names in sport, football clubs, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, AC Milan. But you are also working with athletes specifically. So I think it's time that we saw one of the athletes that you're working with closely. And it's time to welcome Dominic Thiem, top 10 tennis player who joins us now by video link as well. And hopefully we can bring Domi up on screen now. Domi is a man who really wants to make his journey in the climate space. Such a pleasure to have you with us, Domi. Thank you so much for sparing the time. You've done a lot of research. You've taken your time. You've done your homework, and you're ready to step into this space now in climate action. And that is so thrilling to hear. What is the backstory, though? Domi, where did this come from?
Thanks for having me as well. Really good to see you. And it's coming from a long time. I mean, mainly, obviously, education, especially from my mom, from early age on. And then, to be honest, I lost it a little bit in my teenage years. And then there were two stories. The first was after my first year on tour, professional year on tour. I was 20 and I just had some kilos too much. So I was really looking into the diet, into what I was eating. I was reading into that topic. And from that moment on, I was watching out a lot. I was cutting meat and fish to the least amount possible, trying to eat super healthy, not only for me, as well for the planet. And then again, 2 or 3 years later, I came into the plastic topic, and that as well came almost hand in hand with the partnership from Adidas and Parley. And then, yeah, since 3 years now, I'm playing almost all my matches in that amazing kits.
Yeah, it's been some journey, hasn't it? Thank you for telling us that story. It's amazing, and it's great now that you're really wanting to represent for it, because you, I'm sure, feel this as an athlete. You can command a huge audience. You have such profile and reach, and with that comes a responsibility. There's one element of this which sort of tickles me, Domi, which is you're from Austria, and Austria is a landlocked country. It doesn't have a coastline. So why do you have such an affinity for the ocean and its health? And maybe you can give us an insight into what the sorts of activities there are that you've been doing in this area. I know you've been in the Balearic Islands recently, haven't you?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I was loving the ocean from the first time I visited it, and maybe because I'm from Austria, where we have no sea, where we have no coastline, it's even more special for me to visit the ocean. And the last 2 years, when I got more into the topic, I started to learn that we all depend on the ocean so much, and it doesn't matter how far we are away from it, because it connects the whole planet. And that's why for an Austrian, it's as important as for somebody who lives on the coast. And the activities, exactly, I was with the WWF in the Balearic Islands, in the marine protected areas, doing some snorkeling and as well learning a lot about marine life, about plastic pollution, about all the threats and about what we can do about it.
Domi, do you just actually give us a little assessment, if you would? Because one of the things I'm wondering is, it's amazing what Parley have done with this kit. You know, the process that Cyrill was describing for us, I mean, you know, it's taken a while for them to get to this stage, and they've been driving it so hard, and they've managed to, you know, get on board with one of the biggest brands in world sport in Adidas. But what is it like to actually perform in the apparel, in the shoes particularly? Because what does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it feel like on the court? If you're in a long 5-setter, you know, playing at the Australian Open, or maybe, you know, the heat of the midday sun, you know, in the US Open, what must that be like? Can you tell the difference? I mean, it's incredible technology, isn't it?
It feels amazing, and that's what I learned from Cyrill. That's what I really love about it, that you don't have to be negative about it. I mean, we have to try to turn it into positive things. We have to turn bad things like plastic into positive, amazing stuff, like the kits I'm wearing, for example, on court. And the first time I was wearing it was Australian Open 2019, and from the first moment, I loved it, and I won some big titles with those kits, and so I only have, from the first moment, good memories on that, and they're also amazing quality. I mean, you can play hours and hours in the heat, and it won't let me down. But at the same time, I know that in some way I'm even doing something good in promoting this stuff.
And let me just take that point on a little bit more as well, Domi. Do you sense not only are you doing good, but you're helping kind of start a movement here? More and more athletes, I sense, are developing a conscience. They're becoming activists. They're using their platform in sport for good. Do you see that changing a little bit? And is this something that is a motivational factor for you, that you can be part of this movement into the future?
Definitely I do, and sports, as you said before, it's such a huge stage. The biggest athletes in the world, they have such a big and huge fan base, and to take care about the planet, to turn things around, the time is now. I mean, we don't have any time to do that. So I think it's super important now that athletes, that the biggest sports in the world, that they're going in this direction. And with the help of sports, with all the huge fan base the biggest sports have, I think that can make a pretty good difference.
Cyrill, can I just come back to you here? Because you've got an awesome ambassador in Dominic Thiem. There's no doubt about that. You have a whole wide sector of them. Ocean warriors, if you like, artists, musicians, designers, the youth, activists, and athletes. Now, tell us, what sort of qualities do you look for in the athletes like Domi that you work with in themselves, so that message really lands and it can have the best effect?
I mean, first of all, there has to be a super credible passion for the cause and a commitment, really. This can't be a lip service, right? So I think the first month we spent in calls. So we organized phone calls, video conferences with people from my world, like activists, scientists, and filmmakers even. And I wanted to see, you know, is he serious about it? And he sincerely is. I mean, Dominic is an ocean warrior, you know, and there are not so many people out there, to be very honest, that take the time, of that little time that is left after training, all these other responsibilities that you have when you're a top athlete. Not so many go the extra mile, to be very, very frank, you know, and that's why we are also very selective. You know, it's not about another face. It's not about another name. This is about another person, a person that becomes a pillar of the movement. And Dominic has shown that right away. And I enjoy our conversations. It also helps me to recalibrate. because there is a sincere interest, there's sincere willingness to learn, but also to question things. So he's a great sparring partner.
I think the word is authenticity, isn't it? It's credibility and authenticity, which are, sometimes can be rare, but they're such important qualities. And by the way, the idea of Dominic Thiem Ocean Warrior as a documentary, I like that already. And we've got another panel a bit later on here as Kosmos Sports Summit. Maybe there's some people we can talk to. Now, let's talk a little bit more, Domi, about your steps that you're taking now, because I can imagine it can't be easy taking that first step when you publicly stand for planet, when you decide that you're going to be, more open, more, really, really honestly talking about this subject. I'd imagine you might get a little bit of a criticism of your lifestyle as a tennis player, because of course you've got to go and compete in the best tournaments, the biggest tournaments all around the world. So how do you answer that, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm flying around the world basically all year long, but it's what I have to do. It's if I wouldn't do it, I couldn't do my job. I couldn't do my profession, and that's why, I have to do it. And I try to do all the other things, what is possible, as good as possible. Not to try to have a great diet, a healthy diet for the planet. I try to use my influence, which I have, and on my fans in a good way. I try to use the big stages the tournaments have to use this in a good way. And that's somehow I can live with it with my big carbon footprint.
Is the educational part of this a big driver for you, Domi? That the fact that your fans can go on their own journey and learn, is that something that is a real passion point for you, that you want to harness, that is one of the reasons that you want to embark on this journey and push even further?
It is, and probably it's one of the most important things about it, because obviously it is important that I'm doing everything the best I can by myself, but even more important is that hopefully I can drive some people to do a change and to change their habits, their lifestyles. And if they see me, for example, hustling for hours in that amazing Adidas Parley kit made from ocean plastic, they gonna get into that topic as well. And that's how I can help to educate a lot of people.
Let's just look to the future, and Cyrill, I'll come back to you with Parley and this multidisciplinary approach and what's known as the AIR strategy, the AIR strategy. So A for avoid, I for intercept, and R for redesign. So Parley working to accelerate solutions to marine plastic pollution. We know it's one of the biggest scourges that there is. We're trying to do what we can. Obviously, climate change and overfishing. They're the great dangers. They're the things that we have to try and alleviate and solve. But can you tell me a little bit more and unpack a little bit more about AIR or AIR and what is next for Parley?
Yes. First of all, I'm in the Maldives and I'm not on vacation. That means the Maldives have been there. Hard to believe, I know. But we have onboarded the Maldives, the country, years ago. And they have committed to become a future island nation. They are going heavily against plastic together with us. We are the force in the country. We brought together 100,000 kids in the water. Pretty much everybody who was in a school or is in a school, we're still doing that. Because we know that it starts with the youth, right? It starts, but also in your head. And that's transformed the country. The country has 500,000 people living here and 1 million tourists. The Indian Ocean is one of our epicenters. And the week before, I was in India and negotiating with the government of India to make an Indian, transnational action plan involving millions and millions of people, right? So what we're doing is we're implementing AIR, the strategy, on a government level, on a corporate level, but also with investors and with athletes, The idea is to say, let's drive plastic out of our society. Let's end this material because it's toxic. But we are so depending on it. We can't right now live without it. I mean, you see me wearing glasses. These are made from plastic, and I don't want to kill a turtle to replace them, When I'm flying, and the whole airplane is made with synthetic materials. The computer Right now, there are some things we can avoid: plastic bottles, food packaging, disposable single-use disposable plastic items in general. But there are other things we can't avoid, right? And in these moments, if we can't avoid plastic, we should at least avoid virgin plastic. That means new plastic. And use material that is intercepted from nature. That would be, for example, our ocean plastic. But the big solution for the plastic crisis, which is a global one, and that is very threatening towards the health of nature, but also our own health. These microparticles, they go into our bodies. We kind of get the chemicals that leach out of these packaging, out of these products. We get them into our organisms as well. And they create quite a damage there. And so long term, we have to let plastic go. We have to reinvent the material. And that's the R of air. Redesign the material. Learn from nature and see how nature is building things since millions and billions of years. The true high tech is there. We just have to unlock it. We have to kind of let plastic go and replace it with future materials. That's the big challenge that we are facing. It's truly a material revolution. And what I see here in Asia, but also what I see in America or in Europe, is that key players, be it owners of big corporations, be it government officials, be it inventors, that they're all open for the idea of reinventing plastic. You can connect that right away with any kind of green tech that we also need to end climate change. It's not just done by willingness and by trying the best as a consumer. It's really done by high tech and innovation, by inventing alternatives.
Thank you for explaining that, Cyrill. Domi, one final question to you. Listen, you have won the US Open. You are a Grand Slam winner. But how would making a difference in the world of climate change compare to winning a title like that in terms of, it's a different sort of success metric, isn't it? But what would that actually mean to you, having this purpose, having this impact, and this being a real driving force for the rest of your career?
Well, winning US Open is obviously something amazing, but it's pretty personal, I would say, and you cannot even compare it, because in the other topic, protecting the oceans, protecting the environment, the whole future of the planet depends on that. So if I can do a little difference in that, it would be success of a lifetime, I would guess, because it's so much more important than any personal success. So yeah, that's all I can say about it.
Well, we wish you all of the very best on your journey, Domi. It sounds like it will be an exciting one. We will be watching from afar and documenting it, and you know, just keeping championing you in the work that you're doing, because, as you say, you have a unique position where you can talk to so many people at scale and harness that passion point they have for following you and following tennis. And I'm sure that you will have the impact that you desire. So thank you so much. We really do appreciate you sparing the time to be with us here at Kosmos Sports Summit. And equally, keep up the good work, Cyrill. Don't enjoy yourself too much over there in the Maldives, but a hugely important role that you play in climate action. So thank you both. Thank you so much to Dominic Thiem and to Cyrill Gutsch. Give them a big round of applause, everyone. Thank you, guys. Very, very impact final chat as part of this session on sustainability and sport. And it shows that, you know, there are so many positive things. I hope you guys, both watching on the stream and here in the audience, got that sentiment that there are some really positive things happening no matter how difficult this challenge looks. So thank you once again to Dale Vince, to Dan Redding, to Jose Luis Magro, to Cyrill Gutsch, and to Dominic Thiem for their time this morning. We're going to take a short break now to clean the stage, do a little bit of set rearrangement, and we'll be right back at 11:50 or so with another fascinating session on blockchain and sport, the new business of digital assets, and in particular, a three-letter abbreviation, NFT. We'll see you shortly. Thank you.